and welcome to the United Community Channel. Welcome back to another match preview. Little bit of a different scenery today, so I went for a walk. But nonetheless, football is back. Manchester United are back. Monday night football, home tie against Everton. And look, we spoke about before the international break, a really good opportunity over the next few weeks to put some points on the board, and that's what it all comes down to over the next few weeks. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk as well about Sesko being out for the next month, it looks like, and what does that mean? Who's going to replace him? How we're going to set up? But look, first of all, let's start with being back from the international break. Obviously Sesko is out. We'll talk about him in a minute, but United have a real opportunity now over the next 5 or 6 games to put some real good points on the board, and it starts with Everton. It really does. Look, we've left some points behind us over the last few weeks. Now listen, don't get me wrong, the last 4 or 5 weeks since the last international break has been very positive for Manchester United, and you know, unbeaten in the last 5 in the Premier League, which is absolutely fantastic. But the last 2 games against Spurs and Nottingham Forest, we have left points on the board. We've left them behind. You know, we've dropped 4 points. Now, the concern is, if you're dropping these type of points, you know, when you've got a full complement of players, you know, we are going to be losing players in the next few weeks. The next 4 or 5 weeks now in the games that we've got, we can't afford too many slip-ups. We really can't, and it's important. Come on in. So look, I mean, putting as many points on the board as possible over the next 5-6 games is very important, because we are going to be losing Brian Mbeumo, Ahmad and Mazraoui to the AFCON in the middle of December. We need to put points on the board. We really do. Now, I'm not saying that we haven't been, because it's been absolutely fantastic over the last few weeks. It really has. And ever since that Sunderland game, and then on the back of the Liverpool win at Anfield, it's been very positive. The international break probably came at the wrong time for us, if we're being honest. I think United were really in rhythm. And again, we were in a really good period, and we haven't had too many of them under Ruben Amorim since he's come in. So look, put points on the board, take our opportunities when they come, because we're going to need to give ourselves as good a cushion as possible when we do lose our main players, your Ahmads, your Mbeumo specifically, who's been absolutely fantastic this year. I mean, like, if there's anyone that epitomises what you want to see in a Manchester United player coming in and hitting the ground running, it's him. He's been absolutely phenomenal. He really has. But nonetheless, points on the board are what matters over the next few games now. Some favourable fixtures. You know, we do have obviously Everton Monday night. I think we've got West Ham in the next 6 games. We've got Wolves in the next 6 games. But there's also some tricky ones there as well, with the likes of Bournemouth, Aston Villa. So, I mean, take the opportunities when they come. Now, look, let's talk a little bit about availability and who's around. Now, obviously, the main talking point over the last couple of weeks has been that Sesko is out for about a month. Now, look, I don't think he's had a terrible start to his Manchester United career, and I think a lot of the criticism that has come, especially from the mainstream media, has been really just out of line, to be quite honest with you. But it's typical of what to expect as a Manchester United player. You know, criticising Manchester United generates clicks, it generates headlines, and it gets eyes on articles, and that's what United generate all the time, even when we are going through a positive patch, you know. So look, Sesko's got 2 goals. Would we like him to have scored more? Absolutely, and I think he could have potentially scored more. He had a great chance against Spurs late on, but you know, obviously it was a great recovery tackle from Van der Ven. But I certainly do think that I like what I see with Sesko. I really do. I think his link-up play is really good. His runs are absolutely on point. His physicality is good. He needs to maybe learn a little bit more, or maybe realise a little bit more how strong he actually is, especially aerially. Now, I don't think we play to his strengths in that sense too much. You know, we don't get an awful lot of crosses into the box. It tends to be slow build-up play with Ruben Amorim, but I don't think his start has been really bad at all. I really don't, and I like what I see. I think it's night and day in comparison to what we've seen with Rasmus Højlund last year. I think Sesko is by far and away a better player than Rasmus Højlund, but he's out now for a month. What does it mean? Who replaces him? The obvious candidate, you would say, maybe is Joshua Zirkzee, even though he is not an out-and-out number 9 like Sesko is. He's the only other real recognised senior striker in the squad. Now, reports have suggested that he's going to push heavily for a move back to the Serie A in January. Now, you would hope that we'd have Sesko back by then regardless, but if he's your only option, then it really, really does worry you if he's looking to move away and, you know, Sesko gets another injury between now and the end of the season. Chido Obi is another one a lot of people have been talking about. However, look, he's young and he needs and deserves the opportunity just to stay with the under-21s, to stay with the 18s, learn his trade away from the spotlight, not have unnecessary pressure put on him. But he may need to be called upon if Zirkzee does leave. Now, another option there, of course, is, and Ruben Amorim, sorry, I'll switch hands here. Ruben Amorim has done this already this season, is to play Mason Mount in the forward line along with Mbeumo and Cunha, and he done that very early on before Sesko really got his start. Look, it was interesting to see. It wasn't, I don't think it was as fluid and as dangerous as what we've seen in the last few weeks when Sesko, Cunha and Mbeumo have, you know, started a lot of games together and started to learn each other's game. But it certainly is an option for us, and I think it's probably the most likely scenario. At Everton on the weekend, we will probably see Mount come back into the team. We know how much Ruben Amorim likes Mason Mount and appreciates him, and I have to say Mason Mount has played really well this season when he's been fit. You know, his pressing from the front is fantastic. He's got a couple of goals, at least one anyway. He scored against Sunderland, I think. Maybe that's his only goal this season. But I like Mount, and if he can stay injury free, he absolutely has a role to play in this Ruben Amorim squad. And I think it probably will be the forward line we see. It's going to be interesting to see when Mbeumo does leave on international break what that looks like, especially on that right hand side. Ahmad and Mbeumo have created a great partnership together, and yeah, the whole right side is going to be gone once the AFCON starts. Now let's talk a little bit about Everton, because I think Everton pose their own threats. I don't think there are massive threats, to be quite honest with you. I think Manchester United, historically and now with this game, should absolutely have more than enough to get the job done against them. But they do have dangers. And Dye, is that how you pronounce it? And of course Jack Grealish as well. What I have noticed with him this season is that if Jack Grealish doesn't perform, they tend to not perform as a team. But look, David Moyes has had Manchester United's number in the past, so we really do need to be on it. We really do. They're going to be physical, they're going to be looking for set pieces as well, and there will be a threat from that. But the defensive side of Manchester United's game, I think as individuals, I think we've been playing really well. You know, Maguire has played well when he's been called upon. De Ligt has been phenomenal. Yoro has been top notch. Luke Shaw, in fairness to him, is playing really well, but we seem to be continuing to concede goals. You know, we've conceded 4 goals in the last 2 games that we drop points in, and I don't know, I think, has it been only once or maybe twice this season we've actually had a clean sheet, so that has to improve from a defensive standpoint. But outside of that, I think Manchester United should have more than enough to get the job done, and I think if we play our game, defend properly, set pieces, I think we absolutely will. Just sitting down here, look, show you that river going by. There's Messi. Right, let's talk about predicted 11. Look, Lemens is in the goal, absolutely no question. He is in the goal, starting 100%. No reason to change it. Back 3, again, De Ligt is first on the team sheet for me, in my opinion. I think he's been absolutely phenomenal. Luke Shaw is obviously going to play on that left side. The right hand side of the back 3, you know, it's debatable whether Harry Maguire comes in or you play someone like Lenny Yoro. I would like to see someone like Lenny Yoro. on the right of the back three, specifically for legs against somebody like Jack Grealish. So that would be my back three: Yoro, De Ligt and Luke Shaw. Wing-backs, I mean, Ahmad on the right hand side and Dargo on the left ideally. Now, do you want to see somebody like Diogo Dalot playing a game like this? I mean, I've made it quite clear, I just don't think he's good enough for it. He's not consistent enough with his performances. So in my eyes, it should be Dargo and Ahmad. The midfield too then, I mean, it's probably the least tinkered with over the last 5-6 weeks, and I don't think he will change too much of it again, to be quite honest with you. Good morning. Come here, you. Get in here. Yeah, so I think for that reason alone, it's probably going to be Casemiro and Bruno again. I mean, I don't see why you would change it. You know, I think they've both been playing really well together. Bruno's starting to learn that role a little bit better. And then the forward line, I mean, the forward line nearly picks itself right now, given the fact that we're going to have players leaving in a couple of weeks, as long as, you know, players stay fit, which obviously Sesko hasn't. But I think it's going to be Cunha and Mbeumo and Mount as a forward three. And look, like I said, I think this is enough to get the job done against an Everton side that's been a little bit hit and miss, it's got to be said. Score predictions, I've got a feeling this could be a comfortable one for United, and I hope it is. I'm going to go with a 3-0 win to Manchester United. Bruno and Mbeumo as always, and I think Cunha might get one as well. Let me know your score predictions in the comment section below, guys. We will be live for the game on Monday night, so make sure you're tuning in for that live on this YouTube channel. But yeah, please smash a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you on the next one. Take it easy.